Good morning, Professor.
Good morning. Oh, she beat me. Good morning, Nikaya. That was good. You totally beat me. All right, awesome. And good morning, Daniel. I think you beat me also. Good morning. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning,
morning, Molly.
Professor.
Okay, here we go. All right. Good morning, Molly. Welcome back. Good morning, Camilla. Good morning, Alyssa. Good morning, David. Good morning, Jitlali. Good morning, Darina. Yes, good morning, Darina. Right, sorry. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Amarani with 2 exclamation points. Good morning, Catherine. Awesome, awesome. Okay, I'm sorry. I know I'm still stumbling over certain pronunciations. I'm sorry. And please do, all of you, it's great to see you in a way. I mean, it's great to be seen by you. I mean, to the extent that it's great not to be on vacation anymore. And any of you who if I'm even stuttering on your name and you're noticing that, like, even if I sort of get it right, but you can tell it's by accident, definitely private chat me and let me know. Don't forget my name is Yaverbaum. I mean, I am used to some sort of butchering. Okay, wait, who else? Okay, hello. Who else do I see? Good morning. I think Alyssa, I didn't say good morning, Alyssa. Good morning. Good morning. Antonio, good morning. Good morning. Did I say Camilla? I'm sorry. I think I did. Good morning, Camilla. Good morning, Jean-Pierre. Good morning. I think is that it. If I haven't said you, please say it. Okay. Oh, and yeah. And we are recording. Okay. Um, one sec. Right. Okay. Um, right. So I know I mean, who knows what vacations or weekends or time even means anymore in this world, but hopefully you guys had some kind of break. In fact, I know you guys had a break. I know you guys had a break, no, I don't know that. I feel hopefully you had a bit of a break from physics because I was actually checking in during the week and it definitely didn't. It looked like everybody did take a break during the week, which is good because I didn't, I wanted that. And then just like today, good morning, Luna. Thank you. Today, this morning or something, I saw a rush of like back homeworks coming in, not just only from this class, but excuse me, hold on a second. But like a bunch of like old homeworks came in this morning, which is great and fine. I mean, I haven't graded them yet because they just came in this morning or maybe late last night or something. Totally fine. It says to me 2 things. It says that now that we're back, people are interested, staying on top and catching up and whatever. And everybody's understanding that it's not too late to give in those homeworks. So that's good. And actually, as I'm saying this, I think most of these homeworks that came in may have been from other classes, but still, good morning, Ashley. Awesome. I think, what am I saying? Right, but if you did turn in a homework like last night of any kind, or if you turned in any back work last night or this morning, I think that was a wise decision and great, and I will get it back to you, but haven't yet. Right, but now I know I had a whole speech and I totally forgot. Well, anyway, but I know that I dropped this bomb on you guys as promised of the practice exam. It's meant. Oh, right. Okay, Antonio. Good question. It's funny because, right. So Antonio's asking when is the midterm, and and the reason I don't just have my memory when we left for break, maybe I misremembered entirely, or maybe I threw you guys off, but I thought that I remembered that I had promised that I would get you the practice midterm at the end of break, which would mean I thought we had worked out a whole schedule, the whole class. This is not a criticism of Antonio. This is a good question from Antonio. My memory when we went on break was that this class, we had all just recently worked out an exact schedule of when the midterm was. And that it meant, and that usually means I have to give you a practice test about a week and a half or 2 weeks before then. But then when I went, I wasn't exactly sure. So I want to confirm with you guys what I think we said, but I'm here to confirm. I mean, that is our item of business today. Our item of business is the midterm and how to prepare for it. Again, that's like maybe a stressful way to come back, but so you'll correct me. I'm going to say what I think we said, but it's true. I have a foggy, okay. Here we go. Catherine's got it. Good. Thank you. That's going to save us a step. Hold on a second. I'm Melissa. Okay. No, this is what I want because I actually couldn't. I was going to put it in the classroom, but I couldn't remember. Yes, due on the 14th. The review would be due Wednesday, I believe, to go over. Yes, this all sounds very good. I'm going to look at my calendar. But thank you, Catherine. and Antonio and Melissa, because that does sound right, and that's exactly what we do need to resolve right now. Let me just look at my calendar, make sure this is also what I think. Right, right. So the thing is, right. Okay, yeah. So, and maybe we're in the middle of, we're going to work on this today. But I'm going to repeat now vocally even what's in the chat, but then I'm going to put it in the Google Classroom like stream or whatever, so it's official and written. Again, I had meant to do that before, but right. Thank you, Catherine and Melissa. And Antonio, what we had said was that like the technical date of the midterm is the 14th. That means a week from this Wednesday. And and I'm saying this slowly again, because I know it is confusing and important. And again, I will type it out. But Catherine's phrasing and Melissa's phrasing is correct. Like, due the 14th means that I will post the actual exam itself this Friday night. I mean, for good or for bad, Friday night, like by 8 p.m. or something, I post the test itself, which will look very similar to this practice test. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I'll post the test this Friday. And that means you have the full weekend, like if you want it, or if you don't like working during the weekends, you still also then have Monday and Tuesday to do the whole test, the whole exam at home on your own time, on your own time in all ways. Meaning, oh wait, sorry, someone else is here. Meaning like not test conditions, not you can go to it, come back to it, blah blah, that sort of thing. But then it would be, and we're gonna, most of today is devoted to preparation of this exam. So I will hopefully answer any and all questions of this kind about format stuff. But there's a lot of aspects of this exam that are very loose, like hopefully you have a lot of freedom and generosity and not a lot of rules about how to do this exam. But the most important rule, so I'm glad everybody's asking, the one thing that I am super strict about, and it's always hard to guess, I know, but what I am super strict about is the exam will be due 10:50 on a week from this Wednesday. Like, yes, Wednesday the 14th, it's due 10:50, meaning you got 5 days to do it however you want, in whatever pace you want, blah, blah. But then you do electronically turn in the exam, like through Google Classroom, like as though it's a homework assignment, except it's an exam. You'll turn it into a portal in Google Classroom before class on Wednesday. And that's important. Like, again, I'm very loose about deadlines in most all other respects, but not on an exam. You'll turn it in before 10:50 on Wednesday. And then your last responsibility to the exam, and like this actually matters, is then you show up to class Wednesday. And the exam is done, and like we move on, or we pat each other on the back or whatever. But like part of you, so you don't sit in class and take the exam, but you do turn in the exam at 10:50, and then you come to class and hope, to be honest, what I usually do is something more relaxing in class that day. Like I know your brains will be exhausted and all of that, but you'll show up to class 10:50 as your final duty toward the exam, largely, and you will have turned it in. Like, and the reason you show up to class and sit through class, even though that's rough psychologically, and we will not spend that class going over it and saying what you got right or wrong, because that also really messes with people's heads. Like, we just do something else in class that day. But the reason that everybody turns in the exam by 10:50 and then shows up to class is to show one another, is for you to all show one another that none of you is taking advantage. Like in other words, you don't want to be that person who at 10:50 is still working on the exam and then like doesn't show up to class because you're still working on the exam, and then turning in the exam an hour later or something while everybody else is in class, because that is super unfair to the other people, obviously. Like, then you're grabbing an advantage that they didn't. And if you don't show up to class, they don't know whether you've turned in the exam or not, right? So if you don't show up to class, it really looks like you're taking extra time on that exam. And I'm not going to go around like ratting on people or something. So it makes it very uncomfortable for other people. If they see someone missing, they're like, what are they getting away with? And also, frankly, because like I am a loose kind of guy about it would be very easy if you don't show up to class Wednesday for other people to assume not only that you're working on the exam, but that I will turn a blind eye and like let you get away with it. And then other people will be very resentful about that. Right. So to back up, just to answer this, but again, not to be boring or whatever, but like we are here today. Welcome back. Welcome back. Yay, yay, yay. And we're still all going to do very well in this class. Hopefully, I mean, like everybody has a shot of doing very well at this class. But the strictest thing of all is that, yes, your exam is technically due. I mean, it is due 10:50 a week from Wednesday. Then you show up to class and you show up, and even if you like space out the whole time, that's your business. But everybody makes a point of showing that they've all actually turned this thing on time and fairly. Part of that is also, remember, and we'll get into this too, remember during those 5 days that you have to work on this exam that will be posted Friday, you are allowed to work with one another. In fact, you're encouraged, as strange as that sounds, and we will talk about this, but you are. So it's like, I want you guys to help each other during those 5 days, but that's all the more reason that if like you guys get involved with each other and sort of know where each other's at and are help each other, then at the last minute, if one of you doesn't show up or one of you takes another hour in the exam, it's just bad karma, so to speak. Okay, so, okay. Again, I will put this in the Google Classroom, but great question. The answer is the exam will be posted this Friday. It'll be due next Wednesday. It is fully open universe, but that's why when the universe ends, it ends, so to speak. Right. So the time that the test is due on the 14th is 10:50. Like it must be turned in before this class starts. That's the one most strict aspect of this whole deal, is that you turn in the test. So I'm just saying this because I see in the chat, Jitali's question, you turn in the exam before any time before, and that could be, on the dot of 10:50, but right before class next Wednesday, you turn in the exam, you show up to class, and we all say, and then we do something, and believe me, class won't be stressful. It's understood that you will have but it will be important.
Professor?
Yes, hi, yes.
Can we submit the test more than once?
That's a very good question. Yes, you can, that's a very fair question. I mean, it's a very good question. You can, as long as two things. One, as long as the final time you submit it, it's still on time, of course. Then also, yeah, no, that's a really good question. You can, and if you do, if I see two documents there, I'll even be impressed. Like, wow, this person's really worked hard. Like they made a rough draft and then they realized something was wrong, or they learned from other people that something was wrong, so they resubmitted. That is totally fine to everybody. That's like, and literally, it could be even that. I don't even know if this is what Nikaya has in mind, but like, you could think you're rocking on this exam, and or you have like 85 other exams, so you're trying to get this one out of the way, and you rock it, turn it in Sunday to be awesome, and I will notice that and be like, whoa, they turned it in Sunday, that's impressive. I probably wouldn't start grading it, but I'd be like, whoa, that's cool. But then say you talk to your friends and you find out you totally botched problem number 2. Yes, as long as you're still within the window, you can submit a new draft. And yes, I would even recommend leaving the old draft, because I'd be like, whoa, they actually did 2 drafts of this test. That's it. But please, then the other condition though, to everybody. So it can even be because you found out you did things wrong. I'm okay with that, because it's the same, that's totally okay. It actually really shows that you're really working on this. But just for everybody to understand, say someone does that, say Nikai or anybody does that, like they turn in one draft and then later they realize, oh my God, I know. And they turn in another draft. Just also please understand, make it clear. Well, I think it usually is clear, but like I might not grade both. I will grade the most recent, or the one that you're telling me is the better one. I think it's cool for you to leave both, because I will be like, wow. But just understand, I'll probably only put marks and a grade and everything on like the better one. So just sort of make sure that it's clear which one it is that you, but yes, absolutely. I hope that answers the question. Wait, okay. So I'm looking at Catherine's thing. Wait. Oh, no, right. Okay. So Catherine's question says, so the new draft can be just the questions we redid or the whole exam. Okay, that's a great question too, but the answer to that is no. Well, wait, that doesn't make any sense. No, like I want, like, in other words, and I'll get into the details of this, because I'll get into the details of this, but no, like you can turn in as many drafts as you want. You can make as many corrections as you want, but you want, in the end of the day, it's like a paper, like a research paper or like a paper that you want published or something. At the end of the day, you want me to be able to see a self-contained document, like in your file, in your Google Classroom thing. I do need to have a file that is a self-contained full exam. Like you don't want to put me in a position where I have to be flipping back and forth between things. Like I totally get the question and I'm very glad you're asking, but no, I don't want to like read someone's exam and then I get like a addendum packet like, oh, and instead of question 2, Yaverbaum, could you substitute in here my new better version of question 2? No, that gets crazy for a number of reasons, which I will get into. So no, you're totally welcome to change, improve, swap out, fix anything you did. But in the end, I need a test from you, whoever you are. I need like a test that is your best test, that is the one that you want me to grade. And like, that's what I'm going to grade. And I'm not flipping back and forth between documents or confused or something. And again, it could be the end of a trail. You could have had like 3 drafts that you've decided are bad, and you could leave them to show me how much work you're doing. And really, it will show that. And also, like if I get into a confusion, your other drafts are kind of then like an appendix, as in a research paper, where if we get into not a dispute, well, say there's a dispute or a confusion, like I'm looking at your final thing and I don't believe something, you're saying, sure, then you've got these other documents to show like, no, look, I wrote the same thing 5 times each time. Like, obviously I meant that, or saying, like you want them there as background or as appendices or as things that I could look at to help me. But you don't want me to have to look at more than one document in order to make sense of yours. Does that make any sense? Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, these are great questions. And again, by the way, this is largely, even if they're boring, this is what we're here for today and this week, is to get all of this stuff. I don't like stress, but I feel it all the time. But any stress that you're feeling about this exam, I want it to be just about the physics itself. I don't want there to be mysteries about how I grade and stuff like that. So yeah, keep these questions coming for sure. And we're going to start, and we're actually going to get to the physics of it today. I mean, we're going to start practicing this today, but so other things on this, I gave you, I gave you this practice document. That's what's going to guide your way of studying. Like that is the way to study. It really is. Like our practice tests in physics, they're not intended to be like the last thing you do after you've read the textbook 40 times or the last thing you do after you've gone over your homeworks a million times. No. The practice test is the deal. Like it's totally how you study. Everything else, like the textbook, the homeworks that you've done, and it's assuming that you've been with us and trying to do the homework and stuff, but everything you've done to this point or any reading is now like assumed. You just use the way you study for these tests it's like, SATs or whatever. You study for this test by practicing. You practice by practicing on the practice exam. And every time you get stuck in the practice exam, and I'm going to give you solutions too. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I mean, I didn't give them to you yet on purpose, but you will eventually get solutions to this practice exam. So whenever you're stuck in the exam, of course, then you look at the solutions and see if they help. But then if the solutions are still not helping for 85 different reasons, like, you're still behind on some idea and the solutions aren't clear enough, of course, then you go to your back homeworks, then you go to the textbook, or then more realistically for many of us, then you go on the web or to Khan Academy or to 3 Brown, 1 Blue or whatever, or to your friends. But it's all, the practice to test is the way to study. I don't even want anybody to pretend that they're first reading the book and then going to, no, just like go straight to the practice test. Try to do it without looking, see how far you can go whenever you have. When I say looking, I mean without looking at solutions that or looking at anything, try to do it without looking. But then whenever you have to look and use it as an opportunity to figure out what you have to figure out. And again, we're going to start doing that today again, so there won't be any mystery. But and remember that the test, well, we'll get it. So what am I trying to say? So most of our questions about like, what will this test feel like, or what can I expect? Most of them are meant to be answered by the practice test itself, because the actual test will feel remarkably similar to the practice test, and certainly will be identical in terms of formatting and types of question. The equation sheet, like the equation sheet that's in the practice test is the equation sheet that's in the real test, and the real test is open again. So we're really hoping I do take these questions very seriously. I know that half of test anxiety is test anxiety. Like, and I know that half of the challenge of a lot of exams in college and stuff is like trying to guess in advance what will be on it or like not be thrown and stuff. I want that all out of the way. I don't like any of that stuff. I just want you to be worried about physics. So keep these questions coming, but hopefully I'm answering them. Yeah. Well, right now it has definitions as well in the beginning. Yeah. And we'll start talking about the actual document. But yeah, in fact, that's correct. In your practice test and I'm gathering, by the way, I gathered that you got it. I was going to ask, but it sounds like you got it because Catherine's question, I saw it as definitions. So I'm gathering at least Catherine got the practice test. And yeah, the practice test oddly has actually 2 pages of equations. And yes, many of our equations are definitions. In fact, we like to make a big point of that. Like, in fact, really please, even if you've never done this before in another science class, please get used to the fact that there are 2 different types of equal signs. And I mean this as a real thing. It's not just a, I don't know, it's a real thing. Like there's double bar equal signs and there's triple bar equal signs. Triple bar equal sign means it's a definition. And the truth of the matter is, and it's really important to know which kind of equations are which, but all of our equations are either definitions or they're not. And when you write them down in a test, if you're using these equations, if you're using an equation that is a definition as a triple equal sign, you should use the triple equal sign. Like that's not just a handwriting thing. That is a notation thing. Like I actually could take off points if you use the wrong equal sign. And so, yeah. Oh, great question, Antonio. Okay, I'm going to answer Antonio's question in a second. Great question. But so it's important to know whether an equation is a definition or not. Like it's important to know, and it's important for you guys to show me that you know. And so yes, there are definitions that are given in your exam, given in your practice exam. It happens that there's 2 pages of equations, and yes, if you've looked at them carefully, and we never did this before. We always give a sheet of equations. This time I gave 2 sheets. There's a lot of redundancy between the 2 sheets. The reason I gave the 2 sheet, like a lot of equations are actually the same. It's kind of 2 sheets that repeat. But the reason for that is to be blunt, like one version is one professor's versions of these equations, and another sheet is another professor's versions. And I put them both in this time to make it also clear to you guys, like how there can be different styles for saying things. And there's kind of, sometimes some people will use an X and somebody else will use a D or something like that. And I want you to be flexible. I want you to see that there's different ways to express these things, and I will accept different ways that you might express some of these equations. Like there's some looseness there, but the key is one way or another, the equation has to be right. Like there's different ways to express equations, but there's not an infinite number of different ways. And as many different correct ways as there are to express an equation, there's even more incorrect ways. So think of those 2 equation sheets, like whichever one of those equation sheets like seems more familiar to you or works better for you, go with that. That's cool. You can ignore if you see any equation that's written in a kind of different way that you don't like, you can ignore that. But it's like a sample of how you can be varied in your style, but only to a point, if that makes any sense. Now, Antonio's question, sorry, people are still coming in, I see. Antonio's question, will there be test corrections after due date? That's a very fair question too. Now, the fastest answer to that is possibly, but not definitely. I will tell you right now, and it depends on how you guys do on the test, like what's needed and so forth. Almost always after I give a test back, I don't always do test corrections. Like I don't always say, if you correct these things, you'll get these points back. I sometimes do, and I'm going to get, and what I also sometimes do if I don't do that is sometimes I'll say, all right, just like there was this big misunderstanding that a lot of people had and a lot of people lost points here. So we're just going to say, here's a quick small assignment that's similar that you can all do for extra credit points back onto your test. Like I will often, very often, I'll give a quick thing that after we get the test where you have an opportunity to get points added back to your test. So that's a similar thing to what Antonio is saying. I mean, it's very similar, but it isn't always exactly test correction. Sometimes it will be like, here's just a new version of that problem. Can everybody do this now? And then if you do it and you hand it in, I'll give you points back on your test. Often that happens. Oh, and good morning, Jennifer. And I want to be really specific about that. Again, I know this is, I know this is what it is, but also on Antonio's question, the fact is today happens to be a day where I'm turning back a bunch of tests to physics 204 classes. Okay, and I can tell you guys right now, like, I really mean that this test is open universe. And I know it's actually almost hard to believe in a way, or even hard to believe. Well, anyway, I really do mean it, that you guys, when you take this is going toward Antonio's question about test corrections. It is really true. It's not a trick and it's not a joke. And it's also not as naive as it may seem, that it's really true. You're going to do whatever you want to take this test. You're going to help each other. You're going to go on the web. You're going to have your practice test in front of you if you want. You're going to have solutions to that practice test in front of you if you want. Like, it is true. There's going to be a moment where you're going to be like, am I cheating? And the answer is no, you're not, because I'm telling you, you can do whatever is necessary to demonstrate your understanding of this material. Okay. And there's no catch, except that you have to remember when you turn in the test that I know that, that I know that you were allowed to go on the web and work with everybody and all that stuff. And so I'm grading it accordingly. That doesn't mean I'm trying to be overly picky or overly punitive. I actually want everybody to get A's. But what you're doing on the test, by the time you turn in the exam, you are trying to show me that you understand why the solutions to the problems do work. You're trying to show me that the solutions make sense in the world and to you, right? Like, I know the answers to these questions, and I know that you'll have essentially access to the answers to these questions. So it's not a race or a competition to get the right answers to me or to put down the right answers. Like, that's not good enough. Putting down the right answers, that's not what gets an A. What gets an A is showing that you understand why the answers are the answers. Okay. And what that really means, and now this goes back to kind of, I think, Nikaya's question and maybe Catherine's or someone's, like, here's the deal. Like, in the end, when you submit this exam to me, you're submitting a document to me that of like fresh blank pieces of paper that you were, or sheets on the computer, whatever. But you're submitting to me, in effect, a blue book. Like, you're submitting to me all your work on the exam. You're not writing your answers into a question packet, right? You're like writing out all your work separately as though it were homework. And this is kind of why the way we've been doing homework, we've been sort of practicing this format. You're going to give me like a multi-page document that has every question of the exam clearly labeled, like problem 1. You're not going to type out the question word for word. Like, I already have that. You're going to make the question clear to me, and make the answer and all the work and the final boxed answer clear to me. Like, your goal, and I want to put this as powerfully as I can, and I'm going to, because it's a little bit of an issue in physics 204 right now. Your goal is to give me a self-contained document. Like, your goal is to give me a document where I know at all times what question you're answering and how what problem you're solving, how you're solving it, and what your solution is. In other words, your ideal is to give me a document where I don't have to turn back and forth between anything and anything to understand what you're doing. Like, you're giving me self-contained physics. For example, if I ask you a question like, assume an object starts from rest and falls 20 meters, how much time does it take, right? Like, say that's the question. Somehow you're not going to type out that question word for word, nor are you going to cut and paste it, but you're just going to say something straightforward like, object falls from rest, how long till it falls 20 feet, how long till ground. Like, you're going to make it so that I can read your test on its own and understand what you're doing without me having to look at anything else. Or even better, if you like, pretend you're giving your exam to some other physics guy, like someone who understands physics, sure, but doesn't, like maybe another physics professor who didn't write this test. In other words, don't assume that I know what you're doing just because I wrote the test. Make clear at all times what this is problem one, like circle problem one, and right at the top, like goal or objective or known and unknown or any way you like, so that I could just pick up your exam and start reading it and know from the start of each problem what you're trying to do. And then I can know whether you're doing it right or wrong. Like that is the standard. And I'm trying to be, and I think as long as that standard is clear, it's a very not hard one to meet. But in the end of the day, you are trying to give me something that makes physics sense on its own. Each part says, here's what I'm trying to do. Here's I'm doing it. Here's the end result. And one way of putting that is you want to make it as clear and easy for me to grade quickly as possible. I mean, it's partly a convenience thing, but it's also like we're both trying to show each other, you and I, like the goal of this class is you're not trying to prove that you could do a million different physics problems or that you've memorized a million different examples. What you're trying to prove is that the central key examples that we've chosen in this class to really show larger concepts, that you get those examples and how they show the larger concepts. So you're presenting problems and solutions to me almost as though they're like essays, things that I can grade on my own. And to be really blunt, and I know I'm over talking this, but like, again, this is now back to Antonio's question and Nikaya's and Catherine's and everything. In Physics 204 right now, like, so they gave me their exams, same rules, and it is the same rules. And, they had open universe, they could talk to each other, they had the solutions. And of course, therefore, a lot of them thought, oh, well, this is going to be a joke. Like, how could I not get 100 on this? And honestly, I am about to give them an opportunity to do test corrections of a sort or extra credit, like Antonio asked, because in truth, they're about to find that their grades they're not horrific, they're not horrible or anything like that, but they're definitely lower than I think a lot of them would have expected, given that they just like had all the materials in front of them. And the reason that and I'm not trying to be critical, but just to like warn you guys, one of the reasons that the grades were kind of low in this Physics 204 test that I'm about to get back is because too many of them skipped way too many steps at the beginning of a lot of problems, so that even if they got to correct answers, or even if they did certain correct equations, I honestly did not know what they were trying to do, even though I'm the one that wrote the test, right? And I could figure it out if I like took out my test or if I scratch my memory and stuff, but I shouldn't have to do that. It should just be physics that makes sense on its own. I mean, I shouldn't have to do that, one, because it slows the whole process down, but two, because physics should make sense on its own. So I think the hardest thing that you guys like want to focus on when you're trying to do this test is like understand that what you're being tested on is your ability to demonstrate that you understand. So you totally do want to help each other as much as you can, but help each other get the understanding, teach each other, or go on the web, whatever it is. But by the time you write stuff down, you have to only write things down that you get and that can make sense to me. So, okay, one last, and again, I'm talking way too much. We're going to start working on this today. We are, but one way to think about this, there are two ways to think about this. Two ways to think about this. One, really think of physics more. I know it's a science and all that. It's very easy to think when you're doing physics that you're like trying to study a lot of physics information and accumulate a lot of physics knowledge, because that's what a lot of science classes feel like. For good or for bad, that's not really what this is about. It's much more like a language class or a musical instrument class or something like that, where you're trying to learn the language of physics and you're trying to show me that you're getting more and more articulate or comfortable or fluid in the language of physics, which means equations and all that, but also means English and diagrams. So think of your exam more like an essay in Spanish class or something like that, where I've said to you, okay, you have 2 weeks now to write me a full essay about what you did on your spring vacation, like fully in Spanish or whatever language, okay? And you can go on the web and learn all kinds of vocabulary, and you can go on the web and learn cool things to say about the vacation you took. You can get all this help. But then by the time you hand in this essay to me, Like, number one, obviously you can't just like plagiarize it off the web, but more to the point, you're trying to hand an essay to me that like I should read this. Again, this is an analogy, but if this were a Spanish exam, I would want to read your exam. And what I'm really looking for is this person, can I really believe that this person actually is thinking in Spanish or speaking and writing in Spanish? Or are they just like literally cutting and pasting like vocabulary words in and trying to piece them together and fool me into thinking it makes sense? And I think you and I all know the difference, right? Like, or even in English itself, like, you know, unless you literally plagiarize a whole essay directly, like literally plagiarize essay, which of course is illegal, but unless you do that, if you try to piece together facts of your own with facts of other things and sentences of your own, it's always obvious that you don't know what you're talking, or whoever you, that we don't know what we're talking about when we do that. That's the kind of thing to think about in this physics exam. You're not trying to prove to me that you have the information. I know you do because I gave it to you. You're trying to prove to me that the information makes sense to you. So the biggest thing to practice, and again, like today when we split up, is when you sit down to start doing a solution to one of these problems, remember that I know what the answer is. So you're trying to show me that you really know what the question is. You know what you're trying to do in the question. You're doing the steps. You're putting in a diagram. You're boxing the last answer. You're doing everything you can to show me that you get it. Like you're explaining. You're the smaller steps that, when in doubt, always break down to smaller steps, smaller steps. Any step you write, if you can think of a way to break it down further, like even if you just divided both sides of an equation by 2, then write, like divided both equations by 2 or whatever. Also, even when I give you solutions, they're just a guide to how I think. The solutions are helping you give an example of how I think, but you don't want to just like verbatim copy my solutions. Like that's very obvious when people are doing that. And you don't want to, and if I skip a couple steps here and there, that's my bad, but I'm just trying to show you what I think the answer is. Don't skip steps. Like, you know, you've got to show me that, okay, I'm talking way too much, but good morning. I don't know if is this, but okay. And lastly, okay, the flip side of everything I'm saying, you will notice that in your practice exam, I mean, I hope you have your practice, but please do take your practice exams out that you got in the Google Classroom. Again, I don't expect that you've done anything with them yet, but we're about to, so please find them or get them out. You'll notice that all over your, well, first of all, your practice exam is very long. We'll talk about that too. Your actual exam will not, we'll talk about this, but that practice exam, the point of it is to be as hard and big and long as possible. I mean, it's like if we were on a cross country team and we're practicing for a 3-mile race, like we run 10 miles every day, like that kind of thing. Like your actual exam will not be quite as long as that one. We'll get to that. In fact, you might even notice that your practice exam, if you add up all the points, I think if I did it right, you might even notice that your practice exam is worth 120 points. And actually, maybe someone can, if you get a chance in the chat, just let me know if I'm great, if you did get this thing and if I'm right about the points. But I think it adds up to 120 points. What's that all about? That's your actual exam will be 100 points. It won't be 120, it'll be 100. But I'm indicating to you by doing that, that your actual exam will either not have all of those problems on it. It will be taken, like you need to know all that, but either your actual thing will be shorter, so you will have hopefully overstudied, or it might be that your actual exam has choices. We often do this. Like we might say, you must do problems 1, 2, and 3, but then you can do either 4 or 5 or something. So it will add up to 100. But I made that one 120 to make it clear to you also, like if you can really do every single thing in that practice exam, then you're definitely fully set for the real thing. The real thing will not be worse or longer or harder or anything like that. It will be taken from the practice exam. Okay, that's one thing. But the other thing you might notice in the practice exam is all over the place. This is almost cracks me up, but like every 5 lines in the practice exam, it says, this is an exam. This is an exam, or this is an exam question. This is an exam question. Or I'm going to stop. I'm babbling so much. Can I just get a show of hands? Hey, do you all have the practice exam? Do you know what I'm talking about? Or a show of electronic hands or something? Or have I just lost everybody? The hand. Okay, thank you. Hand, toupee. Okay, thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Zilali. Thank you, Luna. Okay, cool. 4 people. Okay, great. Thank you, Luna. I just missed. Okay, cool. So you know what I'm talking about. Great. Thank you, Camilla. Thank you, Luna. Okay, so all over that test, it says this is an exam question. This is an exam. Thank you, Darina. Awesome. Why is that? Well, we never used to do that before. And the truth is, I didn't even think to do that. The truth is, oh wait, no, wait, does it? No, maybe it doesn't. Wait, I'm sorry. I can't remember which practice. No, wait, I think I'm crazy. You might want to tell me. You have your practice exam, but it doesn't say this is an exam question all over. Does it? Does it or does it not? Do you know what I'm saying? Just flip through and look. You'll know it right away. If it either does, like every 5 lines, say this is an exam question, or it doesn't. Could you just tell me what we? Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, you did. Okay, it does. Okay. Now I'm actually is it, thank you, Zitlali. Although is she the only page 5 of 9? Wow, really careful read. Thank you, Zitlali. That is very careful of you. Oh, 5 of 9. Okay, now I'm gonna look because now I'm curious. Now I'm confused what I gave you. Hold on a second. But I'll explain why it says that if there's only one, that's weird. Page 5 of 9. Hold on. But also everybody else, could you just everybody does have everybody, or maybe I'll put it on the screen and say page 5 of 9. Oh yeah. Right. Okay, exactly. Thank you, Zitlali. That's really good reading. Yes. All right. Page 5 of 9, on page 5 of 9 of this exam, on that problem 3, constant acceleration and free fall. Maybe I'll switch screens in a second, but it does say this is an exam question. This is an exam question all the way through the problem. Hopefully you guys can. In fact, all right, maybe, can I switch this? Hold on. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I'll share the screen. Hold on a second. Okay. So you can see, okay. Yeah, like here, if you're seeing on page 5, which is problem 3 of the exam, it says this is an exam question, this exam. Now it happens not to say that anywhere else, but it happens to say it there. Let me just explain that so it doesn't confuse you. I never used to do that. The reason it happens to, there's nothing special about that problem. I mean, it's a good problem, but there's nothing special about that, this page 5 problem. The reason that one happens to say that it's an exam question is just because that one happens to have come from directly from our midterm exam last semester, which happens to have been written by Professor Walters. And he put all through the exam that phrase, this is an exam question. Now, I had never done that before. He did that, and I want to, and I've left it. I want to tell you why he did. You might already guess. I want to tell you why he did that because it's important to know, and to keep in perspective. Well, you might guess. He, throughout the entire exam that he wrote last semester, he wrote this is an exam question every 2 lines because, of course, we already know from experience and from conjecture that when we distribute an exam with these kind of rules that you can do whatever you want and you can go on the web and all that, of course, many people would take parts of their exam and just copy and paste them and put them into Chegg, that or other similar websites, but Chegg is the one I'm thinking of. And I think many of you know what I'm talking about. Many people would just take our exam questions and copy and paste them into Chegg and then get answers to our exam questions and then submit those answers straight from Chegg. And of course, that's the wrong thing to do. Of course, it's the wrong thing. It's the wrong thing to do. Like, not right. And it kind of super annoyed Professor Walters that people were doing this. And he felt like they were taking advantage of a pretty generous system. So in order to stop, and it also made him angry at Chegg. And that I definitely understand. I'll get to that in a minute. But so therefore, to kind of head off this Chegg thing, because technically Chegg is not supposed to help you with exams, only with homework. Although whatever, I mean, I don't think whatever their rules are do not come from the Bible, that's for sure. So I don't even know if they follow their own rules. But anyway, in an attempt to discourage people from just taking their exam questions and just submitting them to Chegg, that's why Professor Walters did that. And I thought it was interesting, so I left it in wherever I used his problems. But let me tell you all about that now. Oh wait, something in the chat. Hold on. I'm about to get controversial here, by the way. So wait, let me look in the chat. Hold on. Okay, that's very honest and awesome. All right, so Catherine, I appreciate her honesty in saying this. So she said she's done it with some of the answers.
with homework, which is legal, right? So, I mean, no one's in trouble here or anything like that. But she's saying that she did it with some of the homework, but then the answers were wrong, or somehow I didn't like the answers. So now she just uses to find explanations as to how to find the answer. That is great that Catherine put that in the chat, because I want to say to everybody, first of all, yes, I'm still standing. I mean, this is why I want to address this today. When I tell you guys you can do whatever you want to do this, I'm not saying, but you must cancel your subscription to Chegg. When I say you can do whatever you want, I mean it. Okay. And I specifically, for example, yeah, certainly in homework, you're always allowed to do whatever you want. So certainly you're allowed to use Chegg in homework. Otherwise, you are. But even better, exactly what Catherine just said. Like, what I want is for you guys to use whatever resource you ever think is helpful, whether it's Chegg or a private tutor or a private Nobel Prize winning physicist that you have millions of dollars that you're paying to sit by your side. Like, whatever resources you want to use in order to help you understand, I am all for, because God, of course, I'm not the only game in town. Like, and I don't make it clear for a lot of people. Whatever resource you can use or you pay for to help you understand is your right and privilege. And frankly, even if you end up doing that on the exam, I'm not going to take back my rule. I'm not going to say you can't use Chegg to help you understand. What I'm going to tell everybody, and this is the interesting thing, is that one of the reasons every semester I get looser with my rules, I get more confident that my rules are okay. Honestly, because we've now tested, because Chegg does upset, you can imagine Chegg does upset some professors, and it upsets me in a certain kind of a way. But we've now been all in COVID long enough that Professor Walters and I have actually done tests where he's literally, where we get a bunch of exams where we know people are copying pasting from Chegg. Okay, it's obvious. I mean, it's way more obvious than you might even realize. But the reason I never change my rules, his way of, he doesn't like that things come in from Chegg, so he tries to cut that off in the past, or at least make it clear to you by writing, and this is an exam question, this is it. But for me, let me tell you really from experience, my problem with Chegg, my biggest problem with Chegg is basically what Catherine just said there, which is that if you overly rely on Chegg or anything like that, or if you use one of those resources the wrong way, you don't have to worry about me dragging you into a court and saying you cheated, you're a bad person, like, or something like that. That's what's not going to, my experience is, if you use, any of you uses Chegg or any resource in the wrong way, it's just going to come out in the wash and be clear that you don't understand what you're doing. And I'm grading for understanding. Like, I'm this arrogant at this point. I'm this nice, but this in that, and I just saw it happen on the Physics 204 exams. I'm telling you guys that you could literally get every single answer from Chegg. And even if and first of all, yeah, Chegg is garbage anyway. It's true. I think a lot of their answers are, there's no quality control on who they're hiring to do their stuff. Like, it's not one genius Chegg person who's doing everything. It's a bunch of people just grading stuff. And and they just put it out there, especially crazy, obscure problems like mine. Like, it's not like they go through a checking process, right? So first of all, I don't think it's reliable. But anything is reliable to help you with understanding. But if in the final analysis, what you guys have to do is put on a piece of, you can only write down what you actually understand by the time you write it down. I don't care if you got that understanding 2 minutes before from Chegg, but by the time you write it down, in other words, if you're still writing stuff down and you're hoping it's right because Chegg said it, if you're just like hoping it's going to be right, you're already in trouble. You don't want to be hoping something's right by the time you write it down. You need to know the physics well enough to be able to know yourself, like, or with your friends, be like, wait, that can't be right because that doesn't even make any sense. Wait, like, he didn't even conserve energy there, or blah, 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 blah. Like, so you can use the crap out of these things, but in the end, if you rely on Chegg or anything like that to present your understanding in the test. So what I'm trying to, I know but it's actually mind-blowing to me what an easy standard this is. I can take I have all my Physics 204 exams sitting there. I never once have to accuse anybody of, I think you got this understanding from the web. I don't even have to worry about it, because I can just tell looking whether they get what they're saying or not. And like, the average grade, not to scare anybody, but the average grade on these Physics 204 exams right now, The average grade is like a 79 or an 81. And that's not because I accused anybody of cheating at all. Like, I didn't take off points because I think they got something from the wrong place. It's because their stuff is not that good if they take it only from the wrong place. What you guys want to do is take Chegg, take Khan Academy, take each other, take all your stuff and use that so that you can understand the stuff, so that by Sunday night or Tuesday night, whatever, by the time you're turning something in, you're so proud of how much, like, you think it's such a joke by that time because you've been through it so many times, that you've got multicolors and pictures and notes to me. Like, you want to be able to show me you get it. That's the goal. And get it because you've relied on every resource you want. But don't, in the final analysis, copy Chegg or something like that. Not because I'm never going to accuse you. I'm never going to say, I think this physics is right, but I think you got it from Chegg, so I want to take off points or I want to drag you. That's never going to happen. I'm just going to grade it based on whether I like the physics or not. And if it comes straight from Chegg, I'm not going to like the physics, and I'm not going to care whether it came from Chegg or not. I mean, not guaranteed, but okay. So use whatever. But in the end, your conscience has to guide you. You know if you're understanding what you're writing or not. And you got to know one thing about me at this point is I know. And I might even know that better than my other colleague professors who are a little bit younger than I am. I don't worry about cheating because I just know. I know when I read physics, whether the person writing the physics knew what they were writing or not. Just like you can take a handwriting test, and you've probably done this in other forensics classes. You know, you can tell when a signature is forged just because it's like so shaky and weird. And you just know when people are lying, right? And you know when you're lying. And again, well, anyway. So the now the other I'll just say one funny thing. I do kind of, I'm going, like, this is recorded, right? This is public. I'm literally now making fun of Chegg. I could probably get myself sued for this, but I think Chegg is garbage. I mean, I think it's a ripoff. I mean, if used improperly, I'm sorry, if used uncarefully. If used carefully, it's great. And I think Khan Academy is great. Obviously, there's nothing there to plagiarize, really, but great. Like, I don't feel insulted if people go to Khan Academy to figure out what I'm talking about. I think 3 brown, 1 blue, or whatever it's called, is even better. All that stuff. But I'll tell you, when I first learned about it, and if you type my name, I mean, Yaverbaum, if you type Yaverbaum to Google Images, the number of Chegg, what will come up is a bunch of images of Chegg answers to my homework questions. I mean, blatant as the day is long. Like, you'll just see literally my questions there with Chegg answers. And I mean, I can't believe that company is making money off helping with my stupid homework. I think it's laughable in all directions, like, especially because A, half their solutions show they don't even understand my questions, but B, the idea that they're making money by giving fake, not like half knowledge to substitute for a bunch of people who are trying authentically to understand things is used to be so annoying to me, but is now so hilarious that I'll tell you what I did. If you're going to take physics 204, and I don't mean to, but I got so frustrated about that with that, like, years ago before COVID, that when you hopefully take physics 204 for me, you will find that the last 3 final exams I gave, not the last 3, that I took 3 previous final exams from Physics 204, put together all the solutions to them and explanations, put them all together and published them in a book on Amazon, which you can get on Amazon. It's called Backfields. I mean, by me. It's literally just a test prep crash course study guide to nailing my final exam in Physics 204. I mean, it literally is. It's just a test prep book for that, where I give you the past final exams and the final and the answers and explanations. And I put that out for like, and I would, it's cost like $4 or something, just printing costs. Like, I don't make any money off it, but I put that on Amazon literally on purpose just to piss off Chegg, because my point was like, are you kidding me? You're making money off like bad answers to my questions. Well, for that matter, let me scoop you. I'll put out the answers to my questions, you jerk. And like, why should anybody like not go straight to the source? So when you get to Physics 204, if you take it, you can buy that. And I don't make money off it, but, and if you don't have the money, I'll give you the money, but it's just, you can literally buy the last 3 final exams of mine with full explanations. And that's just my way of saying, screw you, Chegg. Like, I don't want you to have the money. I'll take the money. But that's the most I'm ever going to do about that. Whatever people do is what they do. The only cheating is between you and your, like, okay, I'm saying, I think you get my point. All right. So that's a lot of time. I know it's already 11:45. What I really did plan to do today, and again, and we're going to keep talking about this Wednesday. I don't want there to be physics is hard enough. You'll see when you sit down and you try to show me that you understand the physics, that is an honor. That's a worthy enough goal that there shouldn't be any other garbage in the way. So that said, what I actually had wanted to do today, and I think I would still like to do for like 20 minutes if it's possible, I would like to give you time to just sit and start trying to take this practice exam. I'm going to warn you right now. I think it more or less does progress in level of difficulty. Like I think if you started with the last questions now, especially because they get into some things that you've sort of only done in lab, they might intimidate you or freak you out. But if you start with the warm-ups and the next two questions, you'll get a flavor of what we're looking for in this exam and what you want to. So I mean, so I think what I want to do is shut up and have you start working on this thing again. You're not going to turn it in, but it is practice, and it'll lead you to know what kind of questions to ask me for help and stuff like that. And on Wednesday of this week, we're only going to be dealing with the practice exam. Like I'll be going over it and going so, and there's no other homework. Okay, so your main homework for the next 2 nights is to do as much of this practice exam as you can so that you can come in with questions on Wednesday. I'm never going to be able to talk about the whole thing, but I will talk about whatever questions anybody asks me and blah, blah, blah. So I think the best thing, even though we only have about 15 minutes now, I was going to put you in breakout rooms, but I'm not sure I'll do that. But I would like, I mean, unless there's further questions, I think you should really all take out the practice exam now and start actually working with it, practicing it, and seeing how it feels. Remember, your goal is to write down the facts, write a diagram, start the work, circle your answer. That's what I'd like to happen right now. I think, could I just get a show of, when I'm pausing right now as to whether to do breakout rooms or not. Let's say no. We've got a little bit more than 15 minutes. My desire or my ideal, I think, is that I shut up. You guys take out the exam, start working at your own pace right now. I might freak out and put breakout rooms just so that you can talk to each other without, but I won't for the moment. But does it make, can I get a show of electronic? So what I think is going to happen now is we're just going to be quiet and start working on this thing. Can I get a show of hands that that's clear and or okay to do that? Oh, great. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. And I can't even see anymore. That's 2. It's not a lot of people. I'm a little nervous. So I'm saying if I stop right now talking, it's because I'm expecting that people are starting to work on this exam right now. Can I sort of get everybody to affirm that, either raise your hand that that's clear or tell me what, okay, thank you, Zitlali. Anybody else? I'm a little nervous here. Is anybody here? It's like, all right, well, thank you. Who's that? Jean-Pierre or Antonio? No, that's Antonio. Okay, thank you. All right, cool. So that's what we're doing. I'm gonna shut up. I'm like here. I'm gonna, and yeah, you just start working. Since we're all together, I'm not gonna do physics right now. But if you're working on it and you're like, oh, I don't like, are you expecting if you have like a mechanical question or something, please ask it publicly and I'll try to answer it. But okay. So for about 15 minutes, we're just going to work on this practice exam. And I suggest going in order for now. So I would suggest. Oh, and I'll say this too, like even say in part one warm-ups, for example, this should be for, yeah, I'll say this quickly, for both number one and number two. I'll try to make this phrasing even more clear in the actual exam, but in number one, a purple plushie is thrown downward off a building. You can assume that that building is on the surface of the earth. Like you can and should assume that we're talking about free fall there. Maybe even put a note in your exam. Number one is definitely about free fall. Like I think that's why it says downward. It's about free fall. So you can assume that number 9.8 meters per second squared. In fact, you should even feel free to assume 10. Whenever there's numbers in a problem, and if it's free fall, free fall is constant acceleration, and you can round the number to 10 meters per second squared. If it makes, you'll never be deducted points for that. And that is true for number one and number two in the warm-ups, but also one other hint, as long as I'm saying it, that means anything that's falling has that downward, anything that's in free fall, like being affected only by gravity. So in other words, the helicopter in problem two that's going up, well, it's not free falling. It's got like propellers and everything like that. So it's doing its thing. But the package that's falling in problem two, or the purple plushie that's falling in problem one, you can and should assume that A equals G, which is approximately 9.8 meters per second squared, which you can call 10. Now I really will shut up. Oh, and sorry, the screen share is going to stop also because Oh yeah, okay. Two good questions in the chat. Yeah, one second. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. Two questions in the chat that are good. One's in the direct chat and one's public. So, okay, so Antonio's public question. Great question. Yes, you can email me if you have questions. And weirdly, I seem to be getting better about email these days than I once was, but historically, I'm very bad about email. So one thing, the best way, if you have questions about the exam, I mean, yes, you can email me, but if you do it through Google Classroom, I will get it much faster and more efficiently. Like it won't be caught up in junk with other stuff. So the best way if you have questions is actually put it as a comment or whatever thing, a notification, do it through the Google Classroom. I will get it directly and I'll know it's from a student and I'll know it's about this and I'll be more excited to answer it honestly. Right. Thank you. Okay. So that's that. And worse also, have I given you guys I also have a phone number, which if I haven't given you, I'll put that in a second. Yeah, in fact, let me do that just in case. Not to overdo if I haven't said this before, I'll be careful about it. I have a cell. I mean, I just gave you my cell number. You are welcome to text me, especially if you tried to email me and a day goes by and you didn't get a response or whatever. You're welcome to text me as long as you do two things. And sometimes that's better. I'm better with text sometimes. You can do it. Please do, but two things. One, of course, identify yourself. Like say, this is Antonio, or this is Jalali from Physics 203. But then the other thing is you really can text me. You can even skip the email, go straight to text, as long as what you text me with is a question that I can answer very concisely and directly. Like, especially if you can make it like a yes or no question, or is it this or that question, or is it okay if or don't ever emailing or texting me with, can you reteach acceleration to me? Like that's a bad idea, right? We're both going to get in trouble with that. But if you can ask me something that I can answer super quickly and concisely and will make all the difference in the world to you, then just text it by all means. If I could just text back like yes, no, maybe so, or the answer is 7, then we're both much happier and you can skip the email stage. But obviously don't text me something like, hi, I don't understand physics. Could you discuss it with me? Like, that's a bad use of my phone. Okay, so that's that. And then also I got a direct message about solutions to this practice exam. You will get solutions to the practice exam, but there's one, I can't promise exactly when, but you'll get them in, you will get them. But I want you to struggle a little bit on your own first, of course. But the other thing is, when I give you solutions, if there's any part of the exam that I don't give you a solution for, if that happens, it will either, whether intentionally or not, if there's a part of the exam that you find that I didn't give you solutions for, what that means is that that part will literally be exactly duplicated on your actual exam. Like that's a promise. If, say, on this practice exam, I never give you solutions to problem 3, then the deal of that, it means that I'm not even going to change one number or one word. It means that problem 3 literally is going to appear as it is on your exam. Like, that's a clue. And therefore, yeah, go to town, help each other, make sure you have all the answers right, whatever. But it means I'm saying, like, consider that now a little bit of a research project. You have to get the answer to that in time for the exam, but you'll know, like, that means that's an exam question. So, you'll have like a week to so yes, you'll get solutions to most of this exam, but anything that I don't literally tell you in advance what the answer is, it means guaranteed that's part of your exam, and it won't even be like, because the other stuff, when I give you solutions, I should make this clear. What I am going to give you solutions to, then of course I'm going to change numbers here and there. I'm going to change it just enough so that you have to do something, and prove that you understand. But there won't be major tweaks, but there'll be tweaks. But if I don't give you a solution, it means it won't even be tweaked. It's going to be literally that. And it still means, say, on Wednesday of this week or Monday, sorry, last thing too, we're going to keep talking about this Wednesday. So the more you practice and the more specific questions you have on Wednesday, the better for all of you. But that also includes Monday of next week. I should make this clear. This exam will be posted on Friday, but you're going to come to class Monday and the exam's still going to be out there hanging. You're literally going to come to class in the middle of while you're still working on this exam. Now, for some people, that's like super annoying. Why would you want to, like, it's super stressful to come to a physics class in the middle of while you're working on a physics exam. But I'm telling you right now that I will answer questions on Monday about the exam, even though the exam is out there in your possession. I will. And in fact, I might spend the whole period doing that. That might strike you as really weird, but 2 things about that. 3 things. 1, it's an incentive to come to class. 2, and really it is, like, you'd be very dumb not to come to class that day. I shouldn't say dumb, but number 2, I'm doing that in case there's errors or ambiguities in the exams. It's actually great. I love this system because Monday, if you've all worked hard on over the weekend, but you now know what's stressing you or you don't get, you can absolutely ask on Monday. And it's possible I'll say, oh my God, that's a good point. Wait, I should really make this more clear and put a negative sign in the question. Did you hear that, everybody? Like, that will happen Monday. You'll get clarifications that might save a lot of heartache. But the more you know about it before you come in, the better that time will be served. But also, I might just, I might say on something, well, I'm not going to talk about this too much because I want you to talk about it on your own. But on another thing, I might say, oh yeah, this is hard. Okay, anybody who's here now and paying attention, you're going to get the reward of, I'm going to help you with this right now. But then you've got to show me what, so you'll get solutions, but also you're going to get literal direct feedback on your actual exam while you're taking it on Monday. Thus further demonstrating, think of this more like an essay project or something. Like, you're not trying to fool me into thinking that you know things that I don't know. Like, we're trying to help each other. You're trying to prove to me that you understand what it means to solve a physics problem, right? So you'll get not only solutions, but you'll get feedback on Monday. The more you've tried to work this through, the more I'll actually help you with it on Monday. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna shut. So I know we have like 5 minutes, but let's at least, I'm gonna take those 5 minutes to at least put this in the Google Classroom. Hey, dude. Come. Okay, I'm in the middle of class. Oh, 1 second. I'm about to. I understand. I'm about to. 1 second. I'm in the middle. You can come in. Come in. Hold on. Yes. Okay. This is right. Okay.
Oh, there's only 4 more Kit Kats?
Well, you don't want more right now. You want
I
one.
said there's only 4 more.
Right. So
Should
we'll
you
save-
say free?
Right.
Say free because I'm eating one.
Perfect math, dude.
This is the 6th treat
What of today?
because I had 5 gummies.
Oh my, that is.
Thank you, Daddy.
Thank you, dude. That's awesome.
What can I do?
You can say hello to these people if you want. And I'm gonna say, hold on a second. Okay.
Can't see anyone.
Let's see. Are you ready for their physics exam?
I'm bored.
I know, I-
Smell bad.
Oh, thanks. That's great. Well, guys, I think that's our cue. All right. I just put in the Google Classroom the
What?
details of what we all just said. As you can see, I'm getting a little. I think I'm going to go, folks. If we're all good, but I was so. And your homework is just work. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yes.
Make sure to put in the chat, Daddy is a Dumbo pants.
Well, you heard it first and
Or
foremost.
just say, the professor is the dum-dum pants.
Oh wait, we might be on mute. Oh wait, are we on mute? No, are we on mute?
No.
Oh, okay. Yes. Apparently, I'm a dumb pants. If anybody missed that.
Type in that into the chat.
Oh, okay.
The professor is a dum-dum pants.
Oh my God. All right. I
Type
think
that
we're
in
going.
the
All right.
chat.
Thank you, everybody. I will see you on Wednesday. It's been a pleasure. I hope it was all clear. But it's in the Google Classroom, the terms. Okay. Bye. That was Felix, by the way. Okay.
Not him.